When our children's lives are at stake, it matters. Not just what happened, but what we do in the aftermath of them being taken away from us. And just like the NAACP stood up when another tragedy in Mississippi taking the life of young Emmett Till, we will stand up for Nolan Wells. Just like the NAACP and civil rights leaders stood up when another Mississippi son was taken in Medgar Evers. We will stand up for Nolan Wells. And just like too many of our young people, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Terrence Crutcher, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling, Eric Gardner, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, the young people who I was trying to focus on. Gary, we stand up until we get the truth, until we get justice for Nolan Wells. 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 We will ask Christine.
All right, y'all. The reason why I played that, this press conference, it shifts from Ben Crump presenting the preliminary findings. It kind of shifts to something else, right? The way Ben Crump is trying to get this chant going, it's resembling like this whole racial revival meeting. Ben Crump starts rattling off all of the familiar names of all of the vast majority, not all, were his fake race hoax. I call it the Hall of Fame of race hoaxes. That is a tongue twister. He's mentioning all these recognizable tragedies. These are what we call his racial martyrs, the controversial deaths. This is like a whole social justice playlist. And the audience, they knew the part that they were supposed to play. They were supposed to clap, right? They know what to do. Clap, give agreement, say amen. They know what to do. And then came the chant. Justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. I'm like, okay. Y'all started this. So let's go there. I want to ask the uncomfortable question. Everybody's not going to like this, and I really don't care, but justice for what? Do not misunderstand me. I'm not asking whether Nolan's life mattered. I am a Christian. I believe that all image bearers are made in the image of God, and their lives mattered. It absolutely did. Nolan's life mattered. But I'm not asking whether his parents deserve answers. Yes, they absolutely do. Here's what I am asking. What specific injustice has been established? Can anybody? Right, like who has been shown to have committed the injustice? What evidence proves it? Shouting about justice is not a predetermined outcome. Justice is a process that's rooted in truth. Yes. Can justice reveal criminal wrongdoing? It can. And it also could reveal negligence. Justice could reveal that the witnesses withheld information, but justice could also reveal that Nolan Wells died accidentally. If you're genuinely committed to justice, you must be prepared to accept, which I don't believe this crowd will, whatever conclusion the complete evidence supports. And they don't have a track record of doing so. We saw the situation with Trey Reed. Oh, they wanted that black boy to have been lynched by an angry white mob. And they did their own independent autopsy. Did they ever reveal the results of that? No, they didn't, press conference, all the big to do, it just went away. You heard nothing. So don't talk to me about justice for Nolan Wells if you are not going to be prepared to deal with the truth, whichever way it goes. You don't want justice. You want a narrative confirmation. This crowd was being emotionally prepared that entire time to reject any conclusion that doesn't produce a villain. Okay, like if the official autopsy finds no evidence of assault, no evidence of foul play, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say that the medical examiner is corrupt. That's how crazy these people are. That's how bloodthirsty they are. If the toxicology reveals alcohol or another substance, they're going to say, well, him must have been drugged. I'm telling you, that's the way this is going to go. If investigators find no probable cause, they will say, because this is Mississippi, Mississippi doesn't care about black people. You can't get justice in Mississippi. That is the narrative that they are prepping and priming you for. If a grand jury declines to indict anyone, they're just going to say the system is rigged. It is rigged, and it is rigged to protect white suspects. The conclusion has already been written. It's already been written. They're just waiting. They're waiting for evidence to audition for a role in their movie. That's what they're doing. You know what? Speaking of a movie, when I sat and I watched Ben Crump and all this sea of black folks, this reminds me of the movie Rosewood. Type Rosewood in the chat if you remember the story in the movie that is depicted in that movie. When I sat and watched this, I was like, this is just like the movie Rosewood, but in blackface. Y'all remember in the film, the little poor white trash girl with the greasy hair, Fannie Taylor, she is cheating on her husband with a local white man. This man is beating the brakes off of her. But because she needs to explain her injuries to her husband, she claims that a big old black man attacked her. He was big and he was black. And her husband is like, okay, that one lie unleashes hell and fury on the whole daggone town. You have this town of enterprising and just good old Christian black folks, got their own school, got their own church. They're doing business and commerce with the local merchant, the little white man at the store. Ain't got no problems in Rosewood. But because Fanny's a lie, you got an angry white mob. They all of a sudden, they're hunting for a big old black man, a fugitive allegedly named Jesse Hunter. Everybody looking for Jesse, right? All of the residents, they're questioning all the residents of Rosewood. Oh, they are threatening these people. You know Jesse Hunter. They torture these people. They kill a lot of them. And it doesn't matter how many black residents say, look, who is Jesse Hunter? This town ain't but 5 seconds big. I don't know Jesse Hunter. I didn't see anybody. I don't even know what y'all are talking about. Did that matter? No. That mob had already decided that the mysterious black boogeyman must exist. Now, they don't have the man. They can't identify what he looks like. They don't even have a description of the man. They have no credible evidence. They don't even have a consistent story. But you know what they do have? They have an accusation. They have a preconceived racial suspicion. and an angry mob-like crowd willing to believe it, because instead of focusing on what's going on in the moment and paying attention to the context clues, they are focusing on looking for Jesse Hunter. It's the same thing today. This is Rosewood in blackface. They want for this young man to have succumbed to his final resting place at the hands of some white boys. Instead of us focusing on where we are today and looking at all the healing that has taken place despite our past, these people don't want to accept the healing that has already happened. They don't want to be made whole. Nah, they don't want to be made whole. They want to sit, just like the story in the New Testament, they want to sit by the pool of Bethesda and complain about not being, they figured out how to get into the water. I am telling you, this Nolan Wells story sounds very familiar. It is Rosewood in blackface. Just think about it. You got Aunt Sarah, right? Aunt Sarah knows that Fanny is lying. She saw it when it happened, told the other little young girl, don't say nothing. You ain't see something. You don't know nothing. Nolan's friends, the boating community, the investigators, in my opinion, they know that Ben Crump is a lying, trifling Negro that can't be trusted. Just like in the movie, Aunt Sarah knows the man who beat Fanny. She knows that man was white. But when she finally musters up the courage to tell the mob the truth, do you know what happened to her? They shot Aunt Sarah, just shot her in cold blood. Think about that. In the movie, the truth could have stopped the lie. But by then, the mob, they weren't interested in the truth anymore. They wanted blood. The mob needed Jesse Hunter to exist. They needed him to be real. Without Jesse Hunter, they would have had to confront the possibility that they had terrorized innocent people over a lying chick with greasy hair. And I see a very disturbing parallel here in what the civil rights apparatus is now attempting to do down there in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I want to be very precise about this. I'm not equating social pressure with the physical massacre at Rosewood. I'm simply comparing, there is an underlying mob mentality. All of this presumption of guilt, the racial scapegoating, they just want to punish anybody who interrupts the preferred narrative. Before the investigation's even complete, we don't have a toxicology report that's complete. Before the independent pathologist, he can't even review all the retained tissues and fact find and compare notes with the first investigation. The activists, they're already behaving as though there must be a villain. These people want blood. Somebody must have harmed Nolan. Somebody choked him out. Somebody must be lying. Them folks down there in Ocean Springs, they must know something. The white friends, well, you know, they suspicious just because they white. All of the associates must be suspicious. The investigators, you can't trust them, suspicious. Medical examiner, he must be suspicious too. So if the entire town refuses to produce the racial villain that these activists demand, then apparently the entire town must be suspicious. It's a conspiracy. They are looking for their Jesse Hunter. I know y'all see it. But here's my question to y'all. What happens if Jesse Hunter doesn't exist? What we gonna do? What happens if the final evidence shows that Nolan Wells drowned? What happens if there was no racial conspiracy? There's no murder. There's no cover-up. You think these activists are going to apologize to the people that they implicated? No. They're not going to apologize. No. Do you think Ben Crump is going to return to the NAACP convention and tell that same crowd, we was wrong? We've concluded the investigation and the evidence does not support the narrative that we continue to encourage you to believe. Will everybody who shouted justice for Nolan accept that justice may confirm an accidental drowning? These are the questions I have. Or will someone who states the evidence, are they going to treat her like Aunt Sarah and socially punish her for telling the mob what it refuses to hear? No. This doesn't have anything to do with Nolan. Look, y'all don't have to like this. And I'm sorry if you don't have the spiritual eyes to see what I see, but these darn Democrats are trying to tighten their grip on the black vote. That's what all of this is about. Too many blacks have jumped ship. They have abandoned the plantation. They've cut the chains. They are booking it and they have run and they are not looking back. And this is their 2026 midterm election interference strategy. You think this is just one of many tactics that they use. This is where we are now. They have to socially lynch this community and keep this clown show going. They are buying their time. Y'all, they don't have to use ropes and torches and go on a horse ride in the middle of the night to find their Jesse Hunter, but they sure know how to conduct a social lynching. They know how to destroy reputations and threaten your livelihood. They know how to smear an entire community because they learned, these blacks, I told you they ain't honest. They learned this Jerome Crow tactic from their Jim Crow KKK ancestors. It's the same darn tactic. They learned this from their former masters. They spent so much time around them and you couldn't pry them away from them. No, you could have had a crowbar and they wouldn't leave. This is the play. I don't care if you are offended by that. They can accuse innocent people of participating in a racial cover-up without producing an ounce of evidence. No racial crime has occurred. No evidence has pointed to that. And if you're somebody that says, listen, I think we should just kind of pause, take a step back, let's wait a minute, right? The evidence presently indicates that a boy might have drowned. Can we let the investigation finish? If you're that person, immediately, if you're the person saying that, you've now become an enemy of justice. It ain't biblical justice, though. You're an enemy of the social justice cause. That is how the Jerome Crow logic works. It's Jerome Crow, Jim Crow and blackface. It's the same mob mentality, different branding. Jim Crow in blackface. That's why I call it Jerome Crow. Instead of beginning with the evidence and reaching a conclusion, Jerome Crow begins with the racial conclusion, and then it bullies everybody until somebody's going to supply that evidence, or at least a rumor that sounds close enough to believe. Right? In the Rosewood story, the lynch mob said a black man must have done it. That's what they said. The mob grievance, they say, the grievance mob of the pro-wokey woke blackity black, a white person must have done it. Both of these begin with race. They both come with the layer and the baggage of presumed guilt. They both demand you have to conform. This is the approved narrative. And if you are a dissenter, both punish dissent. Y'all remember the little white shopkeeper who, look, he was like, these blacks make me a lot of money and they never gave me no problems. Why y'all want to start this drama? Jesse Hunter, ain't nobody seen nobody named Jesse Hunter, right? They were willing to punish and burn down that white man's house that came after his wife and his kids. And he was white, all because he dad was like, look, why y'all over there messing with Aunt Sarah? Aunt Sarah ain't bothered nobody. Now y'all done shot her. Y'all done put her in this box. What is wrong with y'all? Both of the Jim Crow and Jerome Crow mobs, neither one deserved to use the word justice. Neither one. Proverbs tells us if one gives an answer before he hears it, it is folly and shame. In the movie Rosewood, the Rosewood mob, they answered before they heard it. They went and got their guns and their ropes and got on that horseback and they was riding out, right? Because all Fanny had to do was just say it. She was so dramotional with it. Oh, he was so big. And he was so strong. And they're like, oh my God, Fanny, like, oh my goodness. Somebody get her some water. Like, it was all of the dramatics. All of the dramatics. All she had to do was just say it. Everybody else judged before. Had they investigated? No. And by the time that the truth emerged, so many innocent people were already dead. That whole entire community got destroyed. That is precisely why we don't allow mobs, white mobs or black mobs or political mobs or civil rights mobs to determine facts. We don't do that. Truth doesn't change according to the racial group that's holding the pitchfork, right? Just like the angry little white mob, they thought they were pursuing truth and righteousness. In the same way, these civil rights hustlers, the race-baiting operatives, they also think that they're pursuing truth and righteousness. The only problem is their facts and their standard of truth, it's not objective. It's clouded and full of racial animus. It's tainted with a slanted racial narrative. There are no facts. There's no evidence to support this narrative. And so instead of being in a pursuit of justice and being in a pursuit of truth and righteousness, you end up with injustice. Injustice doesn't just miraculously become justice simply because the mob has changed costumes. It still is not right. Let me just show y'all. This is the audience. This is the freeze shot when Ben Crump is telling them justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. This that Jerome Crow mob looking for their Jesse Hunter. Anybody seen Jesse? Anybody seen Jesse? Yeah, I ain't seen Jesse either. It's okay.